everyone. You designers are here.
I'm Anita at Cedar Hill Farmhouse.
And I'm Yvonne at Stone Gable.
And I'm Kelly at Myself a Home. And we've got tips and tricks and decorating advice for you today. So let's get started.
Hi, everyone. It's episode 189, Drinks on Us, Coffee or Cocktail Tables.
Today's show notes can be found at decoratingtipsandtricks.com/189.
We've got a lot of great information for you today because I would guess that everyone has at least one cocktail or coffee table in their home. And if you're in the market for a new cocktail or coffee table, you have really come to the right spot today. We have a lot of great information and tips and tricks for coffee tables. And I just want to ask,
should we make up teams like coffee table team and cocktail team?
There you. Oh, okay.
I'm definitely
what do you
on
call
the cocktail
it?
Team.
Oh, you're
we already knew that.
And
I drink coffee.
And I call mine coffee tables. How about you, Anita?
Well, I'm the weirdo. I'm all about putting my feet
We
up.
didn't want to tell everybody.
Well, they already
came
know. I like to put my feet up. We don't really have a coffee table.
Take your feet off the table.
We put our feet on the ottoman. So if I'm serving drinks, here's the tip. Is you can use an ottoman for coffee table. You just need a very large tray to put on it, to put all your cocktails or coffee on it.
But we're going to call your ottoman a coffee table because it has a dual purpose. And we're going to talk about those wonderful dual purpose coffee tables.
Yeah. And on the back porch, we've got a big trunk, and that is a coffee table out there. So there you go.
I love the creative ways that you come up with for using a quote unquote coffee table. But here's what I'm going to tell you. If you have a tape measure and 3 measurements, you can at least find the perfect height for your coffee table. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a traditional classic size. It's 48 by 24. That's sort of like, keep that in the back of your mind if you sort of don't know. You're without a tape measure and you're going and you into a store and you see the coffee table of your dreams. That's sort of the classical measurement. But here's 3 measurements that you need. You need to measure the top of the seat height of your sofa. If it's going to be sitting next to if your coffee table is going to be sitting next to a sofa, you need to measure the length of your sofa and you need to measure the height of your coffee table. And those are the 3 magic measurements that you take to find the perfect coffee table. The coffee table should be about the seat height of your sofa or just a little lower. I had one that was a little higher and it really looked odd and I just got rid of it.
That's interesting you say that because I actually like them to be a little bit taller than the standard height. And that is because if you are serving any kind of food or drinks on it, I like it a little. In fact, our trunk is really tall, but I really like that.
That's good, Anita, but I'm talking about sort of like the traditional.
Right. But you said you like it a little shorter, and I just mentioned that I like it a little taller. So, I mean, so what you're suggesting is the standard height, the recommended height, but I'm saying you can go taller or shorter depending on your personal preference.
That's absolutely right. But I'm giving you just sort of the standard measurements. Then you want to get the length of your sofa and your coffee table should not be longer than 2/3 the length of your sofa. And then the height and then the distance from your sofa to your coffee table should be about 12 to 18 inches. I know we keep ours a little tighter, just like your ottoman and coffee table is a little taller. I sort of forego that rule because our family room's very long and narrow. So the one in the family room, we just keep a little tighter because when Bob and I are just at home, we don't sit on our sofa. We each have really our favorite chairs that we sit on. So those are the 3 measurements. So if you have a tape measure, you can find your perfect coffee table.
Okay. And I wanted to mention before we get too far into it that this whole episode was inspired by our listener and pal, Pat B. So, Pat, thanks for giving us the topic idea. I think it's a great one. Pat, with her joy sinking and gimlet eye, was wondering, what the heck is the difference between a coffee and a cocktail table, and what do I have in my living room? So she wrote to us, and we thought that's a great idea and that we wanted to share it with everybody. And we did our research. And so Yvonne has now given you some general standard measurements that you should keep in mind. Anita's saying you can off-road it. And I'm going to tell you, there really is no difference between the cocktail and the coffee table in today's world in reality, especially when you can make these sort of off the beaten track choices. But historically, the cocktail table sort of came into play, as you might imagine, in the roaring 20s when people were having cocktail parties. And the cocktail table was generally a little bit taller than a coffee table. Well, both of them, or the purpose of both of them was to put drinks on and also books. Each one, even the cocktail one, people were using for a cocktail and a book. So maybe you were sitting down and having your, I don't know, what did you drink in the 20s, like a Rob Roy or a Manhattan or something like that. And then you'd have your book. And then the coffee table came into play, and it wasn't for coffee. It could be for a beverage, but it was for coffee table books. So it was,
Okay.
So it was.
See, now during the Prohibition, my trunk would have come in handy. So
It would have been
all your
awesome.
liquor,
And you could have hidden all your cocktails in the trunk.
Exactly.
There you go.
And pick up your, Edith Wharton book and just pretend that's what you're doing.
Yes, see? I know what I'm doing.
You
Exactly.
do.
Well, when I come to your house, I'm going to look inside that trunk. So
We'll have cocktails out of the trunk.
yeah, the
sounds
coffee
great.
tables were then sturdier and thicker and slightly shorter historically than the cocktail table. So the coffee table traditionally is about 16 to 18 inches in height, and the cocktail table was 20 to 22, which I'm thinking maybe only because you had heels on and you were looking fabulous with your cocktail. I don't know, but that's all sort of evolved now. And because I always like a little bit of history, and maybe some of you do too. And
I love your history lesson.
Oh,
this
yeah. No,
is-
I love
this
the
is
history
all-
too.
A little bit for Pat too. Is in 1938, E.W. Godwin, a renowned architect and furniture designer, referred to one of his furniture designs as a coffee table. All right. And the rest was history after that. So that's a little bit of the background that I was able to, unearth on cocktail tables.
Yeah, and I
coffee
think
tables.
it's odd if you have a sofa. I mean, you need a table or an ottoman or something, and I think
To
it looks
put
odd
things
without
on.
something in front of it. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, in our other house in San Marino, the girls were little. We had the giant red DNA sectional, and they were they would jump off it, and we had a carpet, and then on the other side of the room, and it was a fairly large room, we had the TV and the fireplace and bookshelves on either side, and then 2 chairs and what have you. And I just didn't put a coffee table for years because it would kind of get in the way. And they would jump all around and they would lay on the ground. They had their pillows on the ground. And probably in the back of my mind, I'm thinking if I put a table there, they're going to really eat there. And I don't want them to do that either. So, sort of, I didn't want them to hurt themselves, and around just didn't look right. So I didn't have one for the longest time. But then when they got a little bit older, I put one in there, and wow, it was like the room was crying out for it.
Do you know, this is so interesting because I was doing some research on this, and they said that usually, and I found this sort of hard to believe, that a coffee table is the focal point of a room. But when you think about it, like if you don't have a fireplace and you don't have things like that, and you're looking into a room and your coffee table is there and your sofa's there, it very well could be.
Well, it's the positioning too, because it's in the middle usually.
It depends on, right. I think it depends on the layout. Our house, you kind of look at the back of the sofa, so it would never be at our house. But yeah, I think in some that makes a lot of sense.
It does. So if it is the focal point of your room, now mine faces like yours does, Anita, and we look at our fireplace, but in my living room, that's totally different. It's on the side. So I'm thinking, ooh, I'm glad I have a vignette on there, something that really pulls that all together. And because a bare coffee table is crying out for something on it, if it's situated that you walk into it and it's like full on in front of you. You've just got to be so careful with that.
Yeah. And you don't want it just because it's a flat surface, you don't want it to be something where people are just dumping things or, leaving their school books or leaving snacks or stuff like that. I mean, obviously, if it's a coffee table or a cocktail table, it's in a public space in your house where other people are going to be coming in. And maybe because a lot of people still do have a formal living room, it's a little bit more of a formal space. So you might be able to have it situated just the way you want it all the time without people messing with it.
Well, I'm really trying to change that in my house because my coffee table is actually sandblasted wood. And so it doesn't have a shiny surface. It's sort of dull, but it's a real pretty sort of, not raw wood because there is something over it, but it's not going to get chipped and scratched too. And if it does, it looks fine. So we've been playing games on it. Like we've been playing, we love dominoes. We're big dominoes people, and we're Scrabble people. And I'm just trying to get everybody to use that room a little more.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea to use it. Yeah, but I'm just saying that you're using it, but you probably don't leave, candy wrappers and dominoes out all the time.
Absolutely. In my house, that's right. But,
right.
There are a few things that, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that we need to talk about when you think about options for the perfect coffee table. And, coffee tables are a little difficult to pick out. And I think it's because you have so many options. It's almost hard to know which way you want to go. I mean, when I think of that, it's almost like art to me. There's so many styles and options, but you need to think about how you use it and what your needs are for it.
Mm-hmm. And, another thing I wanted to point out about the coffee table while we're talking about sizes and how you choose the right one is just like we were talking about, the height is kind of, pay attention to the height. The other thing I think you want to really pay attention to is the size and scale of the coffee table. And it's one of those things, again, where I think it's better to err one way than the other. So my thought is bigger. I'd rather it be a little too big than a little too small, because I feel like it's that skimpy thing with the rug that's too small. And then I think the smaller coffee table can really look like, you ran out of money before you finished buying all your furniture. So, if you really want a smaller one and it looks too small, I think one of the options you can go with is to repeat it. So have 2 coffee tables. They're smaller, and I think that'll help with the balance of the size versus
and Anita,
the sofa.
That is one of the other things we're going to talk about other than use and need is size, style, material, and that color/finish. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't like a long sofa with a little tiny round table. It's just, the scale is so off. It just throws it off. That in today's, the way we use them, bigger is sometimes better because they're great surfaces to do all kinds of things on, relax, put your feet up, put your books on, put your drinks on, whether it be coffee or cocktails. So there are a lot of ways you can go. Just don't undersize your coffee table.
Well, see, and I'm thinking we've got that ottoman there. Maybe we should just go with the whole sectional thing that you're talking about. Just make it one big bed there. Have you seen those? We're just covered.
Well, and this kind of coffee table that you're talking about, sectionals, is really good. It's a big square coffee table. If you have room for a sectional, you probably have room for a square coffee table. And that is a really nice look because, sectionals are hefty. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you have we have 2 settees in a U shape in our living room. So when you've got kind of a seating like that, the square makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, I think you also want to take into account not only your size of your sofa, but also what's on the side. How is the room arranged? So see, we've got a really nice size U. So a square, we actually have a round ottoman, but a square one would work beautifully in our house. If you have smaller chairs on either side, a square ottoman might feel sized incorrectly. So again, keep in mind also the chairs next to the sofa or across from the sofa. Are they big? Do they have a big frame to them? Are they more delicate? And that's going to really also drive not only the style, but the size.
Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. You want to think about what the coffee cocktail table is really going to be interfacing with the most. Like what is it providing function for? Is it for the people that are sitting on the sofa, or is it for everyone who's in the room because the other chairs or poofs or whatever you've got on the other side give access to it from the other side? The way I have it set up in my room, my coffee table is a rather thin in terms of the width of a coffee table, a cocktail table, rather thin and longish. And it really only is to interface with the sofa and the people on the sofa. It functions for those people. The other people on the other side, if there was to be other people in the room with me, they would be sitting in those Bergère chairs, and each one of those chairs has its own side table. So those people don't need to be interfacing with my cocktail table. You see what I'm saying?
Very good point. Yeah.
You know, and the way my room is, again, very long and narrow. If I had a big square, it'd be pushing. Those people would be sitting practically in the fireplace, so it wouldn't work. So the narrow, longish cocktail table really works for me, and it would not be comfortable for you to be leaning into it from those other side chairs. So I had to provide those sets of nesting tables for them and a side table for
I
those
was
chairs.
worried that they didn't have a place to put their drinks. So I was wondering how you handled that. And
you're worried about that.
Because I might want to sit there when I come if I'm ever invited, but whatever. So you, no, I'm just teasing. So, but anyway, I think and then you make the good point about just the shape. It really does depend on how your room is laid out.
Exactly. And these are all things that you need to consider when you're thinking about buying a cocktail table. Here's what I love about cocktail tables. There are so many options, like for storage, or just like you, Anita, you could actually sit on your ottoman / coffee table. Some of them that are rectangle shape and maybe have a nice leather top or a sturdy fabric top, and they're sturdy enough, you can use them as extra seating. You can put your feet on them. And like you said, Anita, you have a trunk that you store things in. You can buy them. We had a coffee table that had casters on them, and we could move it around. Like we can move it out of the space, like if we're playing charades or anything like that. And if you have a coffee table just with the 4 legs and the space underneath it is clear, and you don't necessarily need to put your feet under there, you can also use that as storage space, like put a big basket under there. Mm-hmm. So I love the option of storing in a coffee table.
Yesterday, I was working on our episodes and a few other things, and I decided to move my my mobile office into the living room. And I have to say, I never sit in my living room during the week.
What?
Usually. What? I don't. I really don't. It's like I do it on Sunday morning. Sometimes I sit in there, or at night.
Where do you sit?
She doesn't, Anita.
When I work,
she's too busy.
I'm usually moving around, but yesterday I did a lot of gardening, and it was super, super, super hot yesterday, like 95 degrees. And I thought, so I got all cleaned up, and I knew I wanted to get ready for recording today. So I went and took all my computer and my notebooks and all the stuff I need, and I went and sat in the living room, and it was absolutely delightful. And stuff we're going to talk about today. And I really was thinking, what kind of coffee table am I drawn to? And I have to say, I am on the cocktail team, just because I like the word better, and it's kind of a little sexier than coffee table, and I don't drink coffee. And I like a coffee table / cocktail table that doesn't have a lot of visual weight, but is interesting, that is a little spark. And I think it's a piece of furniture that you can get away with, like Anita's saying, where you can off-road it a little bit, or you can do something that is a juxtaposition to your other furnishings. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to go. And I'm going to harken back to the episode we did about mixing styles like a pro. And when you're talking about having your 70 or your 80% of one style, I think your 20 or 30, one of those elements can be your coffee table. Good point. I guess what I'm saying is, or I keep saying coffee, but I really mean cocktail, but it's early in the morning. But trying to
it's early.
It's early. Well, it's very early here. So I guess what I'm saying is have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. Because it's a piece you can get away with having some fun with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. And I've got a cart. It's an industrial cart that we use in the mountains for a coffee table. And it's on big wheels. And I don't know if they used it in a train station. It's got some German writing on it. It was an antique when I bought it at an auction house. So, but it's got a big handle on it and wheels, and it's got a shelf. And I guess it was like for a porter, carrying luggage. So cool. I mean, that's about the size of this, but it's great for, but it's, it doesn't scooch around pretty much.
Now, when you saw that, wherever you saw it, were you like, oh, coffee, cocktail? Or did you just think I have to have this and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to use it?
I was thinking I have a booth at Round Top and I need to fill it. This looks great.
Okay.
And then it was, I have a house in North Carolina. I need to fill it. And this didn't sell. So I'm keeping this puppy. Yeah.
We're talking about instant character the minute you put that in.
Yes. It's so charming. It's really cool. So I really love using unique pieces. So I think it's fun to go to an antique store or go to an auction or go to a flea market or something and just look around and say, what is about the right height and size that I can find that would be just really fun and different?
Well, you know what I did? I have now 2 mobile babies in my house occasionally.
Babies.
I know, mobile babies. Once they can, walk or get up, crawl up something to stand
it's
up.
a game changer.
And oh my gosh, we had, in the family room, we had a coffee table that had, it was a rectangle and the ends were sharp. And all I could see is like an accident happening. And so out went that table, and I was just rummaging around in the basement, and I have this really beautiful, huge basket that is just about the height of a coffee table. And it has great storage, and it's got like that baskets that are sort of the gray shading. And I thought, oh, this will be perfect. And I plunked it down, and that's what we're using until those babies can walk steadily.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. And
Just
again, that's
because
a different look too.
Yeah.
It's so
And
fun.
it really did change the look. It's great for spring and summer. I mean, I really like it for that in my room, but, it's all like rounded corners. If they fall up against it, they're not going to cut themselves. So, that was good for the use and what I need it for. And I have extra storage for baby toys.
Yeah. And
So
I love the
it worked
idea.
perfectly.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I love what Anita said about using 2 or even 3. I mean, a set of,
Yeah,
I
3.
wouldn't think probably not square. But like I have those Florentine nesting tables, which I adore. And did you know, I didn't tell you guys this. Sometimes I take pictures, I take pictures of what I get at yard sales, and I send them pictures of stuff in my trunk. But I don't think I did this day, but I got another set.
Did you really?
Yes. Okay.
Man.
Oh my.
Yeah. For $30, all 3 of them.
When I first started buying them, they were inexpensive. Now I think they're on once they're on a couple of blogs, the price soars. I've noticed that about so many things. No, I know. Well, you've also got some, secret nook somewhere to get stuff.
Oh no, I have like Deal Magnet. I don't know what that it's my special gift.
It is.
But I know years ago I got my first set of Florentine nesting tables, and I have a blog post on Florentine if anybody's interested in like what is that? Is it plastic?
Yes.
Where does it come from? I got this set at a yard sale, which was like a very memorable yard sale. I also got my outdoor patio table from them. But and then I went to the Shabby Chic store over in the West Side in LA with my friend who's
Rachel Ashwell's got a store there? Well,
cool. She did. Now she's closed her store. But this was several years ago. And I walked in, and at that time, I think I spent like $25 for all 3 of them. And they were $425 for the big table.
I believe it.
$375 for the medium, and like $225 for the baby. Oh my gosh. I was still like squealing, like silent cheering myself.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's so
Anyway,
so exciting.
I digress. I'll make a note to put that Florentine post in case anybody's interested. But I wouldn't use rectangles and squares because that's how those nesting tables come. So they can stack, like those Russian dolls that go inside of each other. But rounds are so great in a little grouping.
Yeah, that's
So
true. You could
3s.
do a grouping. 3 different sizes, you mean?
Yeah.
Right?
So you get a set of 3 nesting tables. Like you can get great nesting tables on Amazon, and you get, maybe the glass top and some metal, base or something like that. And then you can, especially if your space is small, if you had a bigger party or something, maybe you stack them up and you put them to the corner if people are going to be standing. But if you need them to move around the room, that's great. But then for the general everyday, you group them in front of your sofa. I think that's a great way to go.
Another thing, we're speaking of round, is you can use garden stools, like a pair of garden stools.
I love it.
If you don't have a lot of space, and just make sure, some of them are pretty big. So 2 of those next to each other with a flat top would be just a charming, beautiful focal point of a coffee table.
Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. I think you're absolutely right. And, those smaller little groupings maybe works better. If your sofa is gigantic, like we were saying, you don't want to do that with the scale. But if you had an apartment sized or a love seat, even better. I think those would be so
And here's
magical.
something else, me and my lucite. I'm so wild about lucite. I'm thinking about, once the basket goes, replacing the coffee table I had with a lucite coffee table, because there again, there's hardly any visual weight.
Interesting.
You have, and I think it's sort of if you get sort of a rectangle-y one that's sort of nondescript, it can go with any style. But here's the deal. What you put on it will show, but it's just no visual weight. So if you have a lot of furniture already in a room, or your room is very small and you don't want to call attention to yet another piece of furniture, right, something like a lucite or a glass top with like metal, metal legs would be a really good thing, or a round one that has an open mesh metal base, something like that, just to give your room a little airier look and have it not have one other piece of furniture.
I love that, because sometimes they have the big coffee table. You think of like the big wooden coffee table, and it kind of reminds me of a smaller version of what you talked about with that brown leather sofa.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want one of those in our room.
That's not good.
Sure.
That's not good at all.
However, if you have a very big space, you can handle a big coffee table, especially if it's not loaded with a lot of furniture. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm going like sectional, like a white sectional or something neutral. You can't handle a pretty big, heavy coffee table. Especially if you're going to use it. It's got to be durable enough to, play games on it or do things like that. Mm-hmm. I love that idea. So, it just really depends on your room, the style, how much room you have for a coffee table, and what your needs are. And then you
keep
go
in
to
mind those measurements that Yvonne gave us in the beginning.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a little play on all of that. Mm-hmm. And like Anita said, for her purposes, she likes a little bit higher, but it's just really good to keep those measurements in mind. And I do a funny thing. Like, I usually have my measuring tape with me, but for whatever reason, if I change purses or something, here's a little tip: measure your arm. So take it from your wrist right? Or you could use your finger, but I would say take it from your wrist to sort of your armpit and okay, so for me, that's about, whatever, 20 some odd inches. And then, like you could just sort of.
So from your wrist to your armpit. So you're down on the ground, like.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be down on the ground. You're just kind of like, you're like at Home Goods. You just kind of stretch your arm out straight.
That is such a great idea.
You're ballparking, so it's
no, that is a good idea. And I remember being with my builder in my house and I was trying to figure out if my mirror was going to fit there. And I said, well, my mirror's about this big. And I put my hands apart and I said, measure that. And he looked at me like I was an idiot because it was air. And I'm like, well, that's about how big it is. And it turned out it was pretty close.
And it's another really good idea is to learn how long your stride is, like a normal walking stride. And so my husband does that. He knows how long his stride is and he can walk off feet very easily if you don't need inches.
Well, so that's how they used to do the measurement.
I measure. I know how long my foot is, and I mean, I usually don't take my shoe off, so it's not exact. But if your foot is 12 inches, then you just go, heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe. And then you can figure out, like, if you're at a yard sale and you're like, oh gosh, that looks like a 4x6, but I don't know, maybe it's a 5x8, and then just walk it.
Yeah.
And you've got that with you all the time.
And how do you think they got the measurement called the foot?
Exactly.
There you go. Exactly. Or the cubit or things like that.
Oh, well, this has been so fun having coffee or cocktails. So hopefully this gave you some good ideas when you're shopping for a coffee table. So remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Hey, everybody, we want to thank you so much for listening to Decorating Tips and Tricks. And we want to make it even easier for you to listen. And it's easier if you subscribe. You just click the subscribe button on our website, www.decoratingtipsandtricks.com, or you can subscribe through Apple Podcast or any of your favorite podcast listeners. When you subscribe, DTT comes free right to you 3 days a week. So until next time.